I want to speak to someone in charge. I want to lodge a complaint.
Give me a tone.
Rate in a second.
Up a full tone.
Close Encounters wasn't just a sci-fi film. It was a dreamscape wrapped in childhood wonder, government warnings, and studio chaos that redefined alien cinema. One orangutan on roller skates, it collapsed into comedy. One NASA letter, it sparked suspicion instead of silence. And one tiny R2-D2, let's just say Star Wars, snuck aboard. These are 20 strange and surprising facts about Close Encounters. But wait until the end, because the bonus fact reveals how one alien puppet became E.T.
Number 1. Spielberg's childhood meteor shower experience inspired entire movie when Spielberg was just a child. His father woke him up in the middle of the night and drove him to a field to witness a meteor shower. Seeing all the lights and colors flying across the sky lit a spark in young Steven's mind about exploring what's beyond Earth. In 1964, at just 17 years old, Spielberg made a movie called Firelight, the genesis of Close Encounters. This early film cost $500 to make and was shown at a local theater where it made a profit of exactly $1. One customer paid $2 instead of the required $1 admission fee, giving Firelight its only profit. Many ideas and imagery from this teenage experiment were later recycled for Close Encounters, proving that childhood wonder never really dies. It just waits decades to become a masterpiece. Number 2. Movie almost never happened because Jaws destroyed plans.
Brad, any answer?
In 1973, Spielberg approached 20th Century Fox about making a science fiction UFO movie, but they weren't interested. He managed to make a deal with Columbia Pictures, but while developing the project, Spielberg had to pause production. Universal Pictures wanted him to make some movie about a big fish. That movie was Jaws, which Spielberg dismissively called Mouth of Death in the transcript, though he was clearly joking about the title. Originally given a budget of only $2.5 million, Spielberg thought he couldn't make the big spectacle UFO movie he envisioned. But after Jaws invented the summer blockbuster, Columbia Pictures had more faith in Spielberg and gave him a much higher budget. Number 3. 7 screenwriters worked script. Spielberg inspired by Pinocchio.
I'm not serious. I'm just saying I grew up with Pinocchio.
The movie went through numerous titles and concepts before becoming Close Encounters, originally called Watch the Skies, named after a line from the 1952 film The Thing from Another World. The script was rejected by producer Gloria Katz, who told Spielberg it was the worst idea she's ever heard. Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, contributed a version called Kingdom Come, featuring a 45-year-old Air Force officer. In total, 7 different screenwriters made contributions to the final script, but Spielberg found his emotional core while listening to When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio. The whimsical fairy tale melody put him in the mindset of wonder he wanted to capture. Musical cues from the Disney song can even be heard in John Williams' brilliant score, connecting childhood dreams. Number 4. Steve McQueen turned down role, couldn't cry.
Toby, you are close to death! Come out here!
When casting Roy Neary, Spielberg's first choice was old-school tough guy Steve McQueen. They met at a California bar, Spielberg's first time ever in a bar where Spielberg had 3 beers to McQueen's 14. McQueen finally told Spielberg he couldn't play the part because of a scene where Roy cries, saying he'd never cried on film before and wouldn't be able to do it. Spielberg offered to cut the crying from the script, but McQueen refused because he felt the emotion was necessary. Jack Nicholson, Gene Hackman, Dustin Hoffman, James Caan, and Al Pacino all turned down the role. Meanwhile, Richard Dreyfuss was practically begging Spielberg to cast him. Finally, Dreyfuss told Spielberg he needed to cast someone who's a child and yet a man. Number 5. NASA sent Spielberg 20-page warning letter.
You tell me where cornbread is? Turkey!
Making Close Encounters was a gamble for Spielberg after Jaws' success. UFOs weren't considered blockbuster material, being associated with 1950s B-monster movies. To add authenticity, Spielberg hired real-life ufologist J. Allen Hynek as a consultant, but NASA was not pleased. They sent Spielberg a concerning 20-page letter informing him that releasing Close Encounters could be very dangerous. Instead of discouraging him, this letter encouraged Spielberg even more. I really found my faith when I heard the government was opposed to the film, Spielberg said. If NASA took time to write me a 20-page letter, then I knew there must be something happening. Sometimes the best validation for an artist is when authorities try to stop them. Number 6. Aliens originally designed as orangutan on roller skates. The original alien design concept was so bizarre, it sounds like a fever dream. An orangutan in an alien suit on roller skates. Spielberg didn't want the aliens to have traditional human form and wanted them to glide rather than walk. A makeup test was actually conducted with an orangutan wearing the alien costume and roller skates. The orangutan was not impressed with this artistic direction and immediately took off the alien head and roller skates, running back to its handler. At one point, the UFOs were even designed to look like McDonald's golden arches. After the orangutan experiment failed, they tried puppets with strings and wires, but that didn't look right either. Finally, they settled on children in alien costumes. Number 7. 3-year-old Carrie Guffey became one-take... Carrie Guffey had never acted before in his life when he was cast as Barry, but he turned out to be a natural. Spielberg used off-screen techniques to get authentic reactions, including using toys and having crew members dress up as gorillas and clowns. Guffey was so good at nailing his scenes in single takes that he earned the nickname One Take Carrie among cast and crew. In the scene where Barry crawls through a doggy door, his real-life mother was on the other side helping to pull him through. This scene was used for Close Encounters trading cards, and eagle-eyed collectors can actually see Carrie's real mother's arm helping him through the doggy door on the card. Sometimes the best performances come from the most genuine reaction. Number 8. Columbia Pictures forced Spielberg rush release avoid bankruptcy.
The Aurora Borealis, this is better than that. This is really... Come on.
Spielberg intended to release Close Encounters in 1978, giving him adequate time to perfect the film. But Columbia Pictures was struggling financially and told Spielberg he had to release the movie in 1977 as they desperately needed a hit. Because of this rushed timeline, Spielberg felt that when Close Encounters was first released, it was an unfinished movie with scenes and special effects still incomplete. The pressure from a financially struggling studio forced compromises on his artistic vision. This financial desperation led to the special edition in 1980, where Columbia agreed to let Spielberg finish the movie under one condition: he had to show the inside of the mothership. Spielberg agreed, but later regretted this decision. Number 9. Movie became Columbia's most successful, despite Star Wars.
Boy, you're sunburned. Look at you.
Close Encounters was released in November 1977 and became a massive success, grossing over $306 million on its $19 million budget. It became Columbia Pictures' most successful movie at that time. The film came out the same year as Spielberg's friend George Lucas's Star Wars, which was definitely the bigger hit. Star Wars was the biggest movie of 1977, while Close Encounters was the 9th highest grossing film that year. Despite not living up to Star Wars' success, Close Encounters was still impressive enough to get its own Marvel comic book adaptation. Spielberg and Lucas supposedly had a bet about which movie would perform better, and Spielberg bet against his own film and won. Number 10. 20 years later, Spielberg regretted Roy leaving family.
And it wasn't like an ice cream cone, it was more like a shell.
In 1997, 20 years after making Close Encounters, Spielberg expressed regrets about the ending where Roy abandons his family to travel with the aliens. As a father himself by then, he said this was something he would never do. Spielberg acknowledged that the ending was more of a reflection of his youth at that time. The first time many viewers watched the film, they wondered how Roy could leave his children behind forever for a space adventure. The director admitted that while things weren't great between Roy and his wife, abandoning his kids seemed harsh, but he also noted its pure fantasy, and the true brilliance of Close Encounters was showing aliens as friends rather than enemies for the first time in cinema history. Number 11. Production started before 76 tax shelter requirements.
All right, everybody to bed.
No, wait! That's it, we can finish what?
Columbia Pictures financed Close Encounters using tax shelter money, which required production to begin before 1976. This meant at least one scene had to be filmed before December 31st, 1975. Spielberg decided to start with the air traffic control scene because it didn't require casting principal actors or constructing elaborate sets. This unusual financing arrangement forced the production to begin filming before the script was even finalized. The tax shelter deadline created an artificial pressure that shaped the entire production schedule. Sometimes the most creative films are born from the strangest financial constraints, proving that necessity truly is the mother of invention. Number 12. Movie production flipped house for profit.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Harris. Roy, there's Mrs. Harris.
Spielberg wanted to shoot in real suburban locations rather than studio backlots, but finding the right locations proved challenging. The Neary family house was actually purchased by the production for $35,000 so they could do whatever they wanted with the interiors. Located at 1613 Carlisle Drive East in Mobile, Alabama, the house was later sold for $50,000 after production wrap. This netted a $15,000 profit that went back into the film's budget. The house became famous as the Close Encounters house, with its increased increased value, demonstrating how movie magic can literally increase real estate prices. Sometimes the best investment strategy is buying a house that's about to be in a Spielberg movie. Number 13. Mothership, filmed in World War II, dirigible hangar. The production looked for huge indoor spaces that could accommodate the massive scale of the mothership sequence. Most locations had center support dividers that would spoil the openness Spielberg wanted for the UFO runway. The only suitable location was a 300-foot by 300-foot disused hangar at Brooklyn Air Force Base in Mobile, Alabama, originally used for dirigibles during World War II. This massive space became the setting for one of cinema's most iconic alien encounters. The cast and crew had to battle natural elements, including hot, humid weather and storms, while filming in the Alabama location. The wartime hangar provided the perfect cathedral-like atmosphere for humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. Number 14. 56-year-old girls played aliens gracefully.
1047.
The small aliens in the final scenes were played by 50 local 6-year-old girls recruited from Mobile, Alabama. Spielberg specifically requested girls because he felt girls move more gracefully than boys. Puppetry was attempted first, but failed completely. They also tried using trained orangutans and even mimes moving in slow motion, but nothing worked as well as the young girls in specially designed costumes. Cinematographer Vilmos Zsigmond overexposed the alien scenes so they would appear fuzzy and diffuse, helping them not look like little girls in rubber suits. The heavily backlit silhouettes created the perfect otherworldly effect that practical effects demanded. Number 15. Carlo Rambaldi created animatronic alien Puck 7 puppeteers.
This is nuts.
For the alien who communicates using musical hand signals at the film's end, Spielberg enlisted Italian special effects artist Carlo Rambaldi. He designed a fully articulated steel, aluminum, and fiberglass animatronic puppet that Spielberg nicknamed Puck. Puck's facial expressions were based on photos of child actor Cary Guffey. The sophisticated puppet required 7 puppeteers to operate, with Spielberg himself controlling the final articulation before the alien leaves for the mothership. This animatronic alien later inspired E.T. Fight. When Spielberg asked himself, what if this little guy didn't get back on the mothership? Rambaldi would go on to design E.T., making Puck the grandfather of cinema's most beloved extraterrestrial. Number 16. Dennis Muren secretly added RAR-2D2 TIE Fighter. As a subtle in-joke, visual effects artist Dennis Muren, who had just finished working on Star Wars, attached a small R2D2 model to the underside of the mothership and placed a pea-sized TIE fighter on one of the structures extending from the ship. This cross-pollination between the two biggest science fiction films of 1977 created a hidden connection between Spielberg and Lucas's competing space epics. The tiny Star Wars Easter eggs were so small that most audiences never noticed them. The addition demonstrates the playful relationship between the two filmmakers and their crews. Sometimes the best movie magic happens when artists sneak their friends' creations into their own masterpieces. Number 17. John Williams created 5-note communication thousands combinations.
Where are these signals coming from? Right in the neighborhood.
Composer John Williams worked with Spielberg to develop the film's distinct 5-note musical communication method a full year before shooting began. Williams initially wanted a 7-note sequence, but it was too long for Spielberg's simple musical greeting. Williams enlisted a mathematician to calculate how many 5-note combinations could be made from a 12-note scale. The answer was over 134,000 possible combinations. Williams then created 100 distinct versions and whittled them down one by one until they found the perfect sequence. The chosen 5 notes became one of cinema's most recognizable musical phrases, proving that sometimes the simplest solutions require the most complex preparation. Number 18. Visual effects budget. $3 million could fund movie.
Let's tell everybody that you fell asleep under the sun lamp on your right side.
Douglas Trumbull served as visual effects supervisor and joked that his $3.3 million effects budget could have produced an entire separate film. His groundbreaking work helped advance motion control photography techniques. The mothership was designed by Ralph McQuarrie and built by Greg Jane. Inspired by an oil refinery Spielberg saw at night in India, the ship emphasized luminescence over the metallic hardware look of Star Wars. One of the UFO models was simply an oxygen mask with lights attached, chosen for its irregular shape. The emphasis on practical effects and innovative lighting created a visual language that influenced science fiction cinema for decades to come. Number 19. Real UFO expert Hynek inspired movie final
We're going
scene.
to need a geodetic survey map of Wyoming.
I want this down to the square yard.
The title comes from UFO researcher J. Allen Hynek's classification system. First kind is a UFO sighting, second kind is physical evidence of aliens, and third kind is actual contact with extraterrestrial beings. Hynek served as the film's technical advisor. In an uncredited cameo, Hynek appears in the final alien contact scene. He's easily spotted as the bearded man smoking a pipe and wearing a powder blue suit who pushes through the crowd of scientists to get a better look at the aliens. Hynek's real-world UFO research lent scientific credibility to Spielberg's vision. His presence in the film created a bridge between documented UFO phenomena and Hollywood fantasy, suggesting that truth might indeed be stranger than fiction. Number 20. Rapid production timeline breakthrough. Close Encounters had a remarkably fast production timeline by today's standards. From the start of principal photography in May 1976 to its theatrical release in November 1977, the entire process took just 19 months. This included extensive special effects work by Douglas Trumbull's team, complex practical effects, and the challenging mothership sequences filmed in the Alabama hangar. The rapid pace was partly due to Columbia Pictures' financial pressure and the simpler approval processes of 1970s filmmaking compared to modern blockbusters that often take 3-5 years from production start to release. Close Encounters' timeline demonstrates how the film industry has changed. Today's extensive post-production marketing campaigns and studio committee processes make such quick turnarounds nearly impossible for films of similar scope. The efficient production schedule contributed to the film's sense of spontaneity and creative energy, proving that sometimes constraints can enhance rather than limit artistic vision. Bonus fact: the alien puppet that became cinema's most beloved extraterrestrial, Carlo Rambaldi's animatronic alien Puck, didn't just end Close Encounters, it began E.T. After completing the film, Spielberg kept thinking about his creation and eventually asked himself a simple question: what if this little guy didn't get back on the mothership? That question sparked the idea for E.T. but the extraterrestrial, and Spielberg brought Rambaldi back to design the new alien based on their previous collaboration. Puck's gentle expressions and human-like gestures became the template for cinema's most beloved alien. The beautiful truth about Close Encounters isn't that it succeeded despite NASA's warnings, studio pressure, and orangutan mishaps. It's that Spielberg created a new mythology for human-alien contact that replaced fear with wonder, terror with curiosity, and invasion with invitation. What started as a childhood memory of meteor showers became a film that fundamentally changed how we imagine first contact. Close Encounters proved that sometimes the most profound encounters happen not when we reach for the stars, but when the stars reach back for us. Like Roy Neary himself, Spielberg followed an inexplicable compulsion to create something unprecedented, and in doing so, he gave humanity a new dream about our place in the universe. What's your favorite moment from Close Encounters, and do you think aliens would communicate through music? Let me know in the comments below, and remember, when you wish upon a star, sometimes the star wishes back.